Okay. Apparently, Kaitlin Bennet loves Joe Biden now. I know this is parody. You know this is parody. We all know this is parody. We understand this is parody, right? So, since you know and I know this is parody, we can go in just expecting brain hemorrhaging. Right? Hello, Kaitlin. Please don't make me suffer too much.
Guys, I'm back. Since I've been away for a few weeks, you've probably been wondering where I went. Well, I can definitely tell you I was not over at libertyhangout.tv giving my uncensored opinions that social media has been banning Trump supporters. Of course I wasn't. Instead, I decided I would take the advice of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and I spent the last few weeks away at Jack Dorsey's Camp for Conservatives.
Okay. So, I just have to ask. Does she really think that making a conversion camp joke is going to be a good thing? Or rather, this looks more like a concentration camp. But realistically, given what Pence had advocated for, given things that Kaitlin Bennet advocates for, and given what I think is in her history, the idea of going into a conversion camp is maybe a little on the nose. Moreover, I could be wrong, but if memory serves, didn't she end up having to go to a conversion camp at one point? Here, let's learn together. Let's see here. Wait. Wait, she actually did? She went through conversion therapy? I mean, that's Twitter. I'm confused. So it looks like there actually is some evidence that she went through conversion therapy, but I'm not seeing anything solid. If you guys have anything solid, then let me know. But I don't see anything, like, specifically here. We've got a conspiracy video here. But I don't really care to watch the conspiracy video. Let's see. Okay, so there seems to be at least, like I said, there's the tiniest bit of thought that she went through conversion therapy, but I'm not seeing anything specific. I'm not seeing anything that is enough for me to say, why would you make this joke? You went through conversion therapy yourself. But still, that's just kind of weird. Anyway, let's continue this tone-deaf madness.
Re-educating myself on what an awful president Donald Trump was, how hateful I am, and what a glorious leader Joe Biden will be. That way, I can keep my YouTube channel.
I like this victim narrative. So, Kaitlin Bennet is a professional victim. We all know this, right? We know Kaitlin Bennett's a professional victim. And here she is being a professional victim by saying, look, I'm gonna love Joe Biden because that's what will let me keep my YouTube channel. Meanwhile, the picture of Joe Biden, I mean, we know this is parody. Like, we all know this is parody. But the picture of Joe Biden is him apparently suckling a child's finger. Which is just...
I used to support traditional values, think there were only 2 genders, and think that America should put America first. I had a disease.
Okay, so does anybody know about America First? Do you guys know about it already? Because America First, years ago, was a slogan that homegrown Nazis used. The idea of America First is one of those things that sounds nice, it sounds patriotic, it sounds perfectly fine and acceptable, but America First, traditionally, like when that slogan was used originally, was a Nazi slogan. This was something where American brown shirts would say America First so as to argue that we shouldn't intervene in World War II and stop Nazi Germany. That was the original version of that. It was putting America first so that we did not go and fight the Nazis. Because the people who were pushing it were American Nazis. Every time you hear America First, take it with a grain of salt. Because the history of that phrase is incredibly terrible. And if you don't believe me, go ahead and look at Dr. Seuss comics from back in the day. Here, you know what? We'll just do it. We'll just do it right now. We're here, you and I, Dr. Seuss, America First. Here. Old Dr. Seuss stuff. Okay, I don't care about this. Relatives? Nah, these 3 fellas are just going along for the ride. America First, Nazis, fascists, and of course they've got communists here too, because this is when we had a lot of our anti-communist sentiment as well. So, again, use historical context, but we've got the great U.S. sideshow, America First, linked with Nazis. And on this platform, folks, the most perplexing of people, the lads with the Siamese beard. Unrelated by blood, they are joined in a manner that mystifies the mightiest minds in the land. This is old school Dr. Seuss. Just shitting on America First because they were so tightly linked with brown shirts and Nazis. So, now that we've got that dog whistle out of the way,
But now I'm better. Now I think there are 83 genders. I think Joe Biden is more Catholic than...
ha, follow on Gab. Also, 83 genders. So let's go ahead and knock this one out of the park real quick. So, gender is a social construct. This means that there is not a finite amount of genders. Anytime somebody goes, are there 72 genders? Are there 83? How many are there? The answer is as many as we societally construct. That's it. That's what it is. Just like when you say, okay, well, what's the largest dollar bill we can print? That's a societally constructed concept. Money is. The largest dollar bill we can print is whatever the fuck we agree on printing. That's it. Ugh. Also, the Joe Biden isn't Catholic thing, which is just neat.
the Pope, and that we should open the borders to millions of undocumented migrants.
So, I wonder if these people ever consider the fact that illegal immigration does not actually negatively hurt the United States. In fact, actually, economically, it does us a lot of good to have immigrants come in. Most of the jobs that they are taking are not the jobs that Americans are losing in the first place. So, and in crime statistics, illegal immigrants commit less crime than homegrown citizens do. In all honesty, if somebody comes here illegally, I don't care. I would like them to start on the path to citizenship, but I really don't care past that point. And just seeing Kaitlin, I mean, we all know Caitlin's going to use that. We know. It's Kaitlin Bennet.
Camp director Brian Stelter taught me that Donald Trump was literally Hitler. Sure, he may have had the lowest ever unemployment rate for Black and Hispanic Americans.
I got a question. I have a question, Kaitlin. Could somebody literally be a Nazi and also lead to a good unemployment rate? Could somebody be a Nazi and still prop up businesses for minorities consequentially? These two things are not related.
And sure, he may have created millions of new jobs, and sure,
Did Donald Trump create millions of new jobs, Kaitlin? Did he? How is he directly responsible for those? Now, I understand that is a standard conservative talking point that Trump had one of the best economies, even though the economy that he inherited was Obama's economy. But the statement millions of new jobs, it's divorced from a lot of context. Let's say, for instance, that I, as president, set up new internment camps, right? I set up new internment camps. I set them up all across the border. I set up 1,000 of them. In each of these 1,000 internment camps, they have, what, 100? 100 to 200 employees each in them. Now, I can then run with the narrative that I created hundreds of thousands of jobs. Because I did. And then if you close those internment camps, well, then you can say, oh, wait, hold on. Where did the jobs go? You just destroyed hundreds of thousands of jobs by getting rid of the internment camps. There's a lot of context when you simply say created more jobs. Even if I grant the premise that he created more jobs, it's still divorced entirely from all context around it. I'm less interested in the factual statement, are there more jobs or are there less jobs when Trump left? I am more interested in what those jobs were materially. Are they temporary construction jobs? Are they jobs with ICE? Are they jobs in prison systems? Are they jobs in security? Like, what kind of jobs are they? How were they created? And it would just be a kick in the pants if it was found that fewer jobs were created during that time as well. That would be a kick in the pants, wouldn't it, Kaitlin? Oh, well.
The average American family brought home thousands of more dollars, but who cares how the country is doing when he wrote really mean tweets?
We can be politically correct and we can be stupid, but it's going to get worse and worse.
Okay, no, that's not a point, Kaitlin. As a president, he is responsible for his rhetoric, his language, and the end results of those things. If he is writing on social media in a way that galvanizes his base into committing crimes, into being horrible, if he's doing that, which he did, then that needs to be considered. You can't just sweep it under the rug by saying, "Aw, was he mean? Was he a meanie boy?" You can't do that, Kaitlin. Again, your points only function if you divorce them entirely from the context in which they need to be viewed.
So what that thousands of people already lost their jobs under Joe Biden, even though he's only been president for a week? Let's just be glad that decency is back in the White House, okay? And who the heck cares that Donald Trump helped produce a vaccine in record time?
Wait, helped produce a vaccine? Helped produce? Kaitlin, hold on. I got a question. Kaitlin, was Donald Trump responsible for the research? Did he personally fund the research? He himself? What did Donald Trump have to do with the vaccine, Kaitlin? What did he do? Promises coronavirus vaccine by end of the year, but his own experts temper expectations. Okay. Him promising a vaccine does not suddenly make a vaccine happen. This is... Kaitlin, this is weak.
when the media said he couldn't. Let's be honest, all the credit should go to Joe Biden because his 100-day mask mandate is very science-driven and is going...
It is science-driven, you dumb shit. Okay, hold on. Let's... So many of these things have to be tackled one at a time, and I can't stand it. One, this is tu quoque, right? Or it's whataboutism. You are going, oh, well, Trump couldn't be wrong. What about Biden? What about the stuff with Biden? And you're doing it in a sarcastic way. Masks are science-driven. If there are 100 people in a room and 100 of them are wearing masks, the chances of them actually spreading any disease or any virus that is communicable via water droplets, via droplets on their breath, it has to cling that way. The chances of that actually spreading is infinitely smaller in that area, in that way, than if you are going there with no protection whatsoever. Okay? There's an analogy that has been used for this multiple times, and I will go ahead and use it right now. If I am planning on sharting on your face, and there's no way around this, I'm going to shart on your face. If you're wearing pants, then some of this is not going to seep onto your face. And it's horrible, but at least it's somewhat better. But if I'm wearing my pants, the chances of that shart even exiting are incredibly small. And if we're both wearing pants, then I imagine the likelihood of you coming out of this cleanly is super high. You're gonna be fine. And I'm sorry if anybody's eating as I do that analogy, but I feel like that is one of the most effective analogies when dealing with people who don't understand the basic principle of how a mask works. I can go into the science of this, in how we know how many microns a water droplet is, and how many microns the virus is, and the fact that the virus has to cling on to the water droplet that is 3 microns in size, and that a cloth mask can block 2.5 microns and higher through it, so there's nothing for the actual virus to move through. There's no way it can actually permeate through that barrier. I could go into the science of it, but I think the analogy is better, especially given that we're using the shitting the pants analogy for Kaitlin Bennet, of all people.
Going to save the entire world. I, for one, also learned at Camp Conservative to be thankful that Joe Biden did away with Donald Trump's racist 1776 commission. We don't need to be teaching kids about American history based on people's merits. That's bigoted. And not to mention...
Okay, so, now, Kaitlin, the 1776 commission was the commission to enable patriotic education in the United States. And I know that sounds fine, especially for somebody who's grown up in the United States. Patriotic education just sounds perfectly acceptable. But patriotic education, the way that it was being planned, was to basically sweep everything that America did that was wrong under the rug, under the pretense of things like manifest destiny. Under patriotic education, the United States were divinely led conquerors who came to the United States under the divine right passed to them by God so that they could manifest their destiny here in the States, and we did everything legitimately. Patriotic education is what North Korea does to indoctrinate its citizens so that they believe that the state is entirely correct in everything that it does. It's an authoritarian principle to, instead of teaching history in context, to revise history so that you are always the victor. You are always the greatest person. And we've already seen some examples of this happen without the patriotic education shit passing through. We already had the Trail of Tears being slowly erased out of history books. We already had bits of information like us donating smallpox blankets to natives knocked out. We've already had stuff like that pulled out of our history books over time. We didn't need a commission to make this process infinitely quicker.
hateful. I'm glad Joe Biden is going to bring back critical race theory in the 1619 Project, which teaches me to be ashamed for being white.
Nobody, no. Kaitlin, you dummy. Critical race theory does not say that white people should be ashamed of being white. Critical race theory, like Marxist analysis, like Randian analysis, which I'm sure you would enjoy, is a lens. It is a lens of viewing history. Under critical race theory, we view history as a set of facts that have to do with the ways in which races have struggled against one another. Under critical race theory, we don't just say the Americans came and took over and that's what happened, or the British came and then took over and became Americans. Under critical race theory, we look and see the prejudice that happened as a result of Native people not speaking the same language as us, Native people not actually having the same skin color as us. We look at the prejudice that was built up around the slave trade and how racial biases had to do with the slave trade. Critical race theory is a lens of viewing history. That's all it is. Just like doing a Marxian analysis would be analyzing all of that as it pertains to class struggle, as it is a struggle between rich people and poor people, people of different classes. These are lenses we use to view things through. Patriotic Education is another such lens. But that lens is basically a way of completely and totally whitewashing everything that America did that was wrong.
That's not racist one bit. Donald Trump was a complete and total dictator that signed way too many executive orders. I support democracy and the separation of powers, which is why I'm so glad that Joe Biden has already issued 33 executive actions in his first 6 days in office.
Yes, but many of those executive actions were undoing things that Trump did with his executive actions. It's like calling somebody a hypocrite for bringing a gun to a fight when you came with the first gun. Like, I'm sorry, Kaitlin, but if somebody's going to bring in a weapon, I am going to engage in escalation theory. I am going to bring a weapon of equal or more power in because you have escalated the conflict. Trump came in and instituted a lot of executive orders. Many of them were incredibly damaging to the country, and Biden is having to undo them with more executive orders because that's how you have to do that. It is the most effective way of managing it. And don't cry about democracy, Kaitlin. You're a monarchist.
It may seem hypocritical, but let's be clear. That's something else I learned in my camp. Now, it may
I don't know how to feel about that joke, and I will simply pass over it.
seem hypocritical, but let's be clear, it's only bad when Trump does it, okay? It's also only bad when Trump
This is like saying, okay, so if somebody comes into your house, right? Somebody comes into your house, and they shoot you. And then you pull out a gun and you shoot them in self-defense. And then in the court they go, oh, so it was only bad when the home invader shot? It was perfectly fine when you shot them. But when the home invader shot you, oh, that was just horrible. That was terrible. It's the same logic. You're upset that somebody had to retaliate with a weapon that was equally as strong as the weapon that your God Emperor toe sucker came in with. I'm sorry, Kaitlin. Not how any of this works.
We need to open back up the economy. When the Democrats do it, they're our heroes just looking out for the working class.
So opening up the economy after we have a vaccine set up and after we have a better understanding of the virus is functionally not the same thing as opening up the economy during the early stages of the virus when we need to be stopping it, when we need to be holding it under control. At this point, the damage is already done. These are two separate situations.
Nor that they put them out of work for a year, because decency is back now. Which means now that Joe Biden is president, it's finally safe enough to open the economy. Even though just a week ago, NPR said the death rate was accelerating. While I was...
Yeah, almost as if someone like you should have been spending time on their channel trying to, I don't know, help the situation instead of bitching about masks. Gee, Kaitlin. Now, I will say this. My stance on locking down the economy is so. I am for locking down the economy if the government is also willing to pay everybody's bills for the amount of time that they're locked down. Not freeze them. Pay them. Because if you freeze somebody's mortgage or their rent for a year, and then they have to pay everything back by the end of the year, how do you think they're going to earn the money to pay 12 months worth of rent? That's not a thing they're going to be able to do. I am for lockdowns if the government is also willing to help pay for everybody's ability to be locked down. Because you can only be locked down and out of work for the amount of time that your savings allows you to. And most Americans don't have enough saved up for even a small financial crisis. A $500 financial crisis to an American is something that can put most of us completely out for a year. Being hit with a random $500 bill when I wasn't expecting it meant that I was having to work for an entire year to slowly scrape together the dollars to handle that. And I've had this happen a few times before I was on YouTube. The government needs to actually be built in such a way that it can help its citizens when shit like this happens. So, if there's one thing for me and McSharpPants to actually agree on, it's that lockdowns in and of themselves are not effective. They have to be lockdowns that are combined with government assistance.
I was at camp, I spent a lot of time watching CNN, and they helped me learn to accept that every single death is Donald Trump's fault, because he took off his mask.
And I tell you to ignore masks, and I rip mine off as I vanquish the virus because I am a leader.
What kind of a monster would do such a thing and not lead by example? I just can't think of anyone else who might take off their mask on federal property and break Biden's new executive action.
Why? There is a difference. I don't know how many times I have to explain that there's a difference. So, with Trump, he had an opportunity for an entire year to lead by example. And he chose not to. Biden, 99% of the time, wears his mask when he's out there and he is not immediately speaking into a microphone. 99% of the time, you see that fucker wearing a mask and leading by example. With Trump, when he puts a mask on, that is the exception. Even after he already got the virus. And it would have made sense for him to understand that, oh, this sucks. Maybe I shouldn't be making it to where more people are likely to wear them. I have family members who are massive Trump supporters. And it is because of Donald Trump's inability to put on a mask in public without being basically coerced that many of them have been just accepting the narrative that they will not wear a mask. They're not going to, period. I see this happen in real life, in real time. And yeah, it's childish. It's stupid. But they're emulating a childish and stupid president. Again, if somebody does something 99% of the time, and it's bad for that, it is bad for somebody to do something in that 1% of the time if there's someone else. But you cannot divorce all these things from their context, which is what Kaitlin Bennet is doing.
Why weren't President Biden and all members of the Biden family masked at all times on federal lands last night?
Yesterday was a historic moment in our history. He was inaugurated as President of the United States. He was surrounded by his family. We take a number of precautions, but I think we have bigger issues to worry about.
Now that Joe Biden is...
And this is actually a decent point. So, if the position here is going to be that Joe Biden was around his family, that he's been around for ages, and all of them are in essentially one area. They're not being approached by a bunch of media personalities. They're not being approached by a bunch of people in a crowd. Then it's no different than just not wearing a mask at home. You're around the people already that you were going to be around in the beginning. So, while this does not seem to be the worst thing in the world, I would still at least remain skeptical because that 1% argument still exists from before. But at the same time, this seems to be another example of Kaitlin divorcing everything from context and just trying to get her gotchas where she can.
President, I'm excited to see the media hold our dear leader accountable and ask him hard-hitting questions.
Will he keep Donald Trump's Air Force One color scheme change?
This is such a good question.
I love an unbiased media.
So, can you imagine what would happen if she played the other questions that were there at the event? I'm sure there were other questions, better questions than that. But you just sniped the one out. It's the same thing that she does with her on-the-street interviews.
Camp Counselor Stelter taught me all about how to be an unbiased journalist and not look like obvious state propaganda.
CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them.
And speaking of the media, I'm so happy to finally have a president that's not going to attack journalists.
God love you, man. You're a one-horse pony. When I announced it, you all said it's not possible. Come on, give me a break, man.
Mr. President, what you talking about your food about?
You.
That's right. America is back. And so is Kaitlin Bennet, the new and re-educated Kaitlin Bennet. While
Oh my
I was
God.
away, Donald
Again-
Trump and thousands of his supporters
Again, Kaitlin, if it is true that this woman actually went through conversion therapy, then this whole re-education arc parody shit on her channel, it hurts a little bit. It actually hurts. But can we consider the fact that what Trump did was demonize the media when they were not loyal to him? And that is not what Biden's done so far. Again, I don't know how many times I have to say that what Kaitlin Bennet is doing is divorcing things from the context in which they happened. With Biden, if he's... the clips you showed was him walking away from reporters and not showing anything before or after. Whereas with Trump, what we saw a lot of, especially with him on Twitter, was him demonizing the media in general and literally only propping up media that was sucking his mushroom. One American News Network, Fox News, up until the last year, he literally would only put up news networks that were saying what he wanted them to say, not actually putting up news networks that have a history of factual reporting. But none of that matters, I think. At least not to Kaitlin.
Reporters were banned from social media for spreading hate and violence, unlike the Democrats who would never dare do such a thing.
No peace, no sleep. You get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
I keep hearing Republicans say that Antifa and Black Lives Matter have been rioting across the country for more than half a year, but I have seen no proof of this.
Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Joe Biden is right. Antifa
Okay, so I hate having to address this shit. Black Lives Matter protests were majority peaceful. The ones that did become unruly or did become riots, in most cases, were exacerbated by outside sources, outside agitators and agitants. Antifa is, in fact, an idea. It is merely the ideology of being anti-fascist, being against fascism. And, of course, Kaitlin being a monarchist like she is definitely pro-fascism. Not that they are the same thing, but Trump's ideology was very much in tune with Umberto Eco's ideas on what fascism are. Now, if you are being killed at a disproportionate rate, which is what BLM was about, and while you are being killed at a disproportionate rate, you are being told that you need to just sit down and handle it, that is violence. That is political violence against you. Because you're being told to sit down and take further violence. Whereas going forward and understanding that, no, we're going to make some noise, we're going to get noticed, we're going to make sure that this is a conversation in the public sphere, that is not the same thing. What did we see during the protests? We saw that peaceful protest all the time did not get noticed by news media. At least, especially here in Atlanta, it wasn't until a Wendy's got burned down that suddenly the news was caring about our BLM protests here. And this creates a weird dichotomy, where on the one hand, you are encouraged to peaceful protest, and I encourage you to peaceful protest. But on the other hand, alternatively, if you peaceful protest, you won't get noticed, and the protest will effectively do nothing. So then there has to be a divide. Do you engage in property damage, where you hurt nobody, and businesses are going to have that money get recovered via insurance anyway, in order to make sure that the cameras are on you, so that you can actually get the media to give a shit about your cause? Or do you just sit back and do nothing, and waste your time? It's a weird dichotomy where only the bad behavior gets rewarded. What does Kaitlin propose we do about that? I know that she's got criticisms of mass media. Maybe there's something that they would know. Maybe there's something that they would be able that she would be able to argue could be done about that awkward dichotomy that activists find themselves in. I don't have a solution to that one, but I do want to present the reality of the problem to you.
But it's just an idea. How can an idea burn down buildings, tear down statues, and kill conservatives? I can't believe Trump declared Antifa a terrorist organization. Ideas don't commit terrorism. But you know who does? Trump supporters, like Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley. Obviously. Voting for Donald Trump is no different than joining ISIS.
Trump, 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 Trump.
Whoa. I am so sorry you had to see that grotesque display of domestic.
This is a Steven Crowder level joke. Like, Kaitlin, if you think that Trump supporters are all peaceful protesters, then I would like to direct you to the Capitol riot. I'd like you to direct you to the literal insurrection that attempted to happen, where people were saying, hang Mike Pence. Go ahead, Kaitlin. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that for just a little bit. Just a little bit. Now, all Trump supporters are peaceful. All of them, definitely. Moreover, if you are a peaceful protester, okay, and the status quo is already in your favor, but the status quo is damaging other people, what are you doing?
Terrorism. See, I support democracy, which means I believe only one political party should get to hold power, and Republicans shouldn't even be allowed.
Businesses deciding not to donate to a particular political party is not arguing that only one political party should hold power. That is, as conservatives would say, just the free market being the free market, Kaitlin.
To give their opinions, use social media, or have jobs. Look, when the founders made America, they never envisioned high-capacity rifles or high-speed internet. We can't just be spreading dangerous ideas like free speech, self-defense, and Christianity. Unless, of course, it's a liberal Catholicism, like what Joe Biden believes in. Let's ignore that the Catholic Catechism clearly states, since the 1st century, the Church has affirmed the moral evil of every procured abortion, and that this teaching has not changed and remains unchangeable.
Okay, yes, but if you are a president, it is not your duty to inject your religion into our politics. Joe Biden being a president and not shoving his Christianity into our politics is a good thing. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. You want a theocratic monarchy. I forgot about that, Kaitlin. You want a dictatorial Christian to take the helm as king of the nation. You wanted Florida to secede. You wanted an army of Florida men under God. Fucking swamp gators or something. I don't know. Kaitlin, religion not being mixed with politics is a good thing. Unless you like religion being mixed with politics. Because if that's the case, Kaitlin, I think you and Ilhan Omar need to have a conversation. Oh, right, no, you don't like Islam. You don't like Islam. You only like when Christianity is injected into politics. That's the one you like.
Biden can change it. You know why? Because he goes to church.
I will just take the opportunity to remind all of you that he is a devout Catholic and somebody who attends church regularly.
Joe Biden is basically Jesus, and Brian Stelter told me he saw him walk on water in Washington, D.C. after...
Oh my god. Okay, so one, it's just parody. It's cringy parody. Two, Kaitlin, y'all literally compared Trump to Jesus for 4 years. That was a thing you guys did. For ages.
After his inauguration. It's too bad they shut down the entire city, otherwise we may have been able to see it. But you know what I did see? I saw the light, and I saw how terrible Trump was and how thankful I am to big tech for censoring all the right things and shielding us from harmful content. I'm better now, which means I don't care how the economy is doing. I don't care if Joe Biden signs 1 million executive orders, and I don't care about outdated ideas like the Constitution.
Oh my god, like the Constitution. Okay, we're done. We're done, Kaitlin. Look, don't bitch about unilateral power if you're going to advocate for a monarchy. Don't bitch about not enough theocracy in government when you wouldn't accept it if it was a different theocracy. Don't complain about all this shit when it's shit you did. I don't even know what I'm supposed to title this video. I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. I don't know what to take of Kaitlin. With Kaitlin, it's normally easier for me to read through the sarcasm and get through her political stuff. But this is just bad take after bad take after bad take. And I really did not want to have this video be almost 45 minutes long. But apparently that's what it ended up having to be. Caitlin's pronouns are not /funny. God damn it. Okay, well. Now that I want to commit not alive, what do you guys think of Kaitlin Bennet and everything that went on during this? Because I just... I don't have words. Kaitlin, seek help. Like, don't go to a conversion camp. That's fucking stupid. Actually go seek help. Like, real help. But with all that said, if you guys enjoyed the video, please go ahead and leave a like. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the bell notification icon so that you can know whenever new episodes release on the channel. Please check the description if you want to find other ways to support the channel. And please go into the comment section and have nice, spirited discussion on whatever side of the political spectrum you end up being on. And as always, everyone, thank you all for watching the video. And insert end of video tagline here.